Hey everybody, welcome to Fashion Friday. I'm gonna do a little Q&A for you today. I opened up my Instagram, my Facebook, and then I've been holding on to a couple questions for a while. It looks like Arrow's gonna be joining us on this one. But so I wanted to do a Q&A about the music business and particularly styling in the music business. So I'm gonna break this up into parts. So if you wanna fast forward to just the music stuff, you can go towards the end of it. But we're gonna get right into the styling questions. And it looks like little Miss Bo Diddley is gonna be joining us as well. So let's get her up in here. There we go. We got the whole gang. So the first question is from Style by Logan. If you had an assistant, what duties would they have and what would the day-to-day workload look like? I actually do have an assistant, but she deals mostly with return. A crazy busy week, then I send her off to return everything to the designers and the boutiques that I borrow stuff from, as well as returns of stuff that I purchased for the shoot and didn't use. Next question, which leads into, do you buy clothes for the shoot? And sometimes yes, sometimes you absolutely have to. Sometimes when it's a last minute shoot, I do go buy everything. I buy everything and then we keep what we use because it's been worn and I'm not going to return it. And a lot of people do that. It's really funny. There was another question on here that was, what would people be shocked about when it comes to styling? And a lot of stylists lose money on a lot of projects. And I'm talking about stylists that work with way bigger names than even I work with. We lose money on a lot of different stuff. And that's in tailoring. A lot of people don't pay for their own tailoring. It's in return fees. A lot of places, like if I go and borrow 8 dresses and we end up using one, I still have to pay what's called a restocking fee, which is like 10% of the item, which adds up, especially if the item is higher end. So that's the great question. What did you want to do before styling? I'm actually gonna loop that back around with the music one. How should my style evolve and how has yours evolved? I feel like if your style doesn't evolve in some way, shape, or form over the years, then you're pretty stagnant. But on the same breath, everything should kind of fall under this umbrella of style. So my style has evolved in the last 10 years, but it has been ever so slightly, where as if you didn't know me and talked to me on a regular basis, you probably wouldn't think anything of it. But I don't wear nearly as much vintage because I find that it's really hard to do that and not make it look like you're wearing a costume. I've bought higher end pieces and I've basically just upgraded a lot of stuff. And I wear less vintage than I did before. A lot of the vintage that I was gravitating towards was super bright and polyester, and there's a time and a place for that. And I feel like as I'm getting older, it's not the place for it. I'm also 27, I'll be 28 this year, so someone in their late 20s needs to dress slightly more mature than someone in their early 20s, I feel. I am also like in a weird industry, so I can kind of dress however I want because I'm the boss, but I feel like I definitely am more buttoned up. I am a little more, I have more of a uniform now. I still love clothes and I still love playing dress up, but it's just easier to wear a button down and bell bottoms and call it a day. Let's see. I hate my boyfriend's clothes. How do I tell him? You just tell him you hate his clothes. It's funny, I've only had that issue like 2 times in my entire life of dating, and I just said, hey, I hate that, and they got rid of it pretty quickly. I'm also someone that looks at the total package when they're looking at a person, and style is very much a part of that because I feel like style is your billboard. So if you dress like crap, you probably listen to bad music, or you probably have no sense of humor. I don't know. I just always kind of read into that a little bit. So let's get into the what did I want to be before styling, because it's going to then turn into the music business. Before I got into styling, I was actually modeling. I was a plus size model when I was a size 16, and I was acting, so I wanted to be an actor, and I made a movie. It's really bad. You should not go look for it, but that's what I was wanting to do. I was wanting to do acting and modeling, mostly because what I really wanted to end up doing was I wanted to be married to a rock star, and that was going to be my retirement plan. Hear me out. I was just fascinated with all these women like Patty Boyd and people of that nature that were just so gorgeous and so beautiful, that they were just around all these amazing people and they just inspired songs to come out of these people. I didn't think, 5 steps ahead, where now I I don't know if Patty Boyd was divorced again at this point, but it's like, oh, you just read a lot of rock star autobiographies at the wrong point in your life, the wrong point in puberty. And it was funny because I was kind of like, I put my life on hold because I thought that by now I'd have like a kid and I'd be living in like this English countryside manor with like my genius husband who's off on tour. I just became that for myself. This coffee is cold and I'm getting told I gotta get back to work. So that was what I wanted to do before I was styling, is I wanted to be married to a rock star and have a house in the countryside and maybe retire from modeling. And instead, I built an empire that I'm working on. Let's see. This one is from Megan. What's up, Megan? How big of a gap do artists typically have between their stage style and their street style? This is a huge pet peeve of mine because it's usually a very large gap. It's funny because now we're so used to seeing people that have stylists and have someone like me that you see an artist going out to get coffee and they're in leggings and a baseball cap, and nothing drives me crazier because I spend all this time and energy and effort finding the right pieces and getting you a color palette and doing all this crazy stuff, and then you go out and you wear a baseball hat. And people say, well, there weren't stylists back in the 60s and 70s and everyone had everything. There were, though. They just weren't called that. My favorite creative team from the 70s that wasn't like a designer, they were called The Fool, and they did set dressing and costume design and all this stuff, and they did it for entertainers, and they just wore it all the time. So I think that we need to get back to that a little bit. A lot of my clients, they know better. They know not to come out of their house in leggings and a baseball cap if they're going to go meet me anyway. But I feel like it's a big gap, and I feel like it's something that people need to work on, because if I see an artist out in public and they don't look like an artist, what do you do? What are you even doing with your life? It just drives me nuts. It's just something, it's a pet peeve of mine. And under that same kind of question, Megan, like I mentioned before, there's an umbrella of style, as I like to call it. And underneath this umbrella needs to be any outfit for any occasion. So like today I've got meetings. I'm wearing a button down, I'm wearing jeans, but I'm gonna wear like decent ankle boots and a blazer. I'm gonna look like I tried. But if I'm going out, I went out yesterday to the plant store, because apparently part of your late 20s is you become a plant person. But I had like ripped jeans, and I had the shirt I posted yesterday, I had like a beat up Cavern Club t-shirt, but I still had on like leopard print ankle boots and a cool scarf. Like I still looked like if someone were to see me in public and they said, oh, well, what does she do? Oh, well, she's a stylist. It wouldn't be weird. I used to leave the house in what I used to call full drag, like eyelashes out to here and teased hair and the like everything, the jacket, the boots, the mini skirt, and I still do that occasionally, but not during the daytime. It's really refreshing to kind of get more comfortable in your skin and to not realize you have to be on all the time. Ooh, this one's from another Megan. Have you ever had a song written about you by a client? Yes. It was a girl though, and it was really cute, and I actually really like it. But I have had at least 3 songs that I know off the top of my head that were written about me, and I never dated these people. It was really weird. It's weird to turn on the radio and to hear a song that you know is about you, that has been confirmed it's about you. See, I got what I wanted. I got my Layla moment without having to get divorced. What is your theme song and why? I asked for music business questions, but I like these. Well, anyone that has known me from my previous lifetime, no one that knows me very well calls me Peyton. They call me Pay if they've known me from like youth on. Like it's what my dad calls me, it's what my mom calls me, it's what my like everybody calls me Pay. And then in high school, all my friends called me Pay Tripper because my favorite song was Day Tripper, and that was even like my vanity plate. So most people call me Pay. So I think Day Tripper might have been like back then. Recently though, I always feel like I just wasn't made for these times, like the Beach Boys song, cause duh. But then in the last like 4 years, I got really into Betty Davis, which if you guys don't know her, the best way to figure out about her is to go and look up Tales from the Tour Bus on Betty Davis. But she was this like straight-laced, buttoned-up woman in real life, and then on stage, she was like funky and like overtly sexual and like unapologetic, and she's got this song that's called They Say I'm Different. And it was about like the song is about her getting called out for like her taste in music and her clothes and what she eats, and I resonated with that. But what I love about her is, first of all, like the least sexual person in my life at the time introduced me to her, and I was like, how does this person who has the sex appeal of a bowl of oatmeal like Betty Davis? And then I fell down the rabbit hole like I always do. I'm kind of like an avid researcher, so I just like learned everything I could a few years ago. And I just love her. But they say I'm different. It's on my workout list. It's one of my favorites, but check her out. And she wears metallic hot pants. And there's a song called He Was a Big Freak. I used to beat him with a turquoise chain. But yeah, that was kind of like, I discovered that stuff at a very pivotal moment in my life, I suppose. How do you get in the door with an artist you want to work with? So that's also interesting. A lot of people assume that if you're a woman and you're not a mutant, you can get in the door by being pretty. And that's not the case. So going back to the Layla thing, I got into places, one, because I grew up in the music business, and that's not everybody's case. My grandfather was in the business, my mom and stepdad are in the business to an extent, and then I just kind of fell into it when I started working wardrobe 11 years ago. So I've always been around musicians. I love the hang, I love tour, I love all of the stuff that goes with it, but I was just there. But if you want to get in the door with an artist that you genuinely want to work with, one is figure out, well, write down why, because there are so many people that I'd love to meet, but I'd be terrified to style. I mean, I love Keith Richards so much, but I would be so scared to dress him because I wouldn't want to disappoint Keith. That would crush me. I would die. But figure out who works around them and make genuine connections with those people. I'm friends with so many guitar techs and so many managers and tour managers, and they're good people, because people that you love, if you're resonating with an artist, very seldom will they keep people around that aren't also kind of on the same wavelength. Just work really hard and get to know the people that are around them. Get to know the artist interest and get to genuinely know them as a person, because artist self and self are completely and utterly different. And it's really funny because at the time that I was thinking that I was just gonna like marry a rock star, that's kind of how I was approaching things. I actually wrote a music blog because I was convinced, like, well, I like music and I'm gonna meet somebody this way. Like, I would review albums, and I ended up meeting really good friends that have gone off and done amazing things, but they also had other great friends. And that's how I keep my business going, is I have great clients, which are friend clients, and then we resonate, we're on the same wavelength, and then they send over people that are on the same kind of page as I am. That's how you really get into it. And also, I wouldn't focus on working with just one particular artist in general, because I've learned, being a type A person, I am married to outcomes. I am like, well, if I'm gonna do this, then this is gonna have to be how it plays out. And I've learned time and time again, universe says otherwise, but if I go into it with, what do I like about this artist? And then I try to find artists that are like that, and I try to put that energy out into the universe to sound super granola. Like, I want to work with artists that are making people feel this way. I want to work with artists that make me feel this way. I want to work with artists that are doing this in the environment. I want to, all of these things, instead of going, I just want to dress Keith Richards, or I just want to dress, who do kids listen to? Post Malone? I don't know. I know he's a thing. But try to figure out what you like about that person and then work on attracting those clients. When you are forcing clients to happen, you will have a bad experience every single time. I've learned that the hard way. One of the other questions on here was, have you ever had a bad experience with a styling client? Yes, I have. I can count them on one hand, but I have. And it was from not being genuine with myself, not being genuine with my rates or my energy or my time, and it's just not a good time. Guys, I hope that was fun. I hope that was interesting for you guys. I have been trying to kind of pull my Facebook, my Instagram, and my YouTube worlds all together. I know a lot of people are still around from the blog like 12 years ago, so thank you for sticking around and following me on this crazy journey. But I hope that was helpful. I hope that was insightful. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Bo's telling me it's time to get off, so I will talk to you guys next Friday, and until then, you wear it well. Bye.